Hi everyone. In our last session, we looked at what is literacy. We looked at the definition according to UNESCO 2017. We also zoomed in on what it means to be literate. Today, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into what is literacy by focusing on what literacy involves. First, let's recap. What is literacy? According to UNESCO 2017, literacy is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written and visual materials associated with varying contexts. Literacy involves a continuum of learning in enabling individuals to achieve their goals, to develop their knowledge and potential, and to participate fully in their community and wider society. In last week's session, we would have zoomed in on the different components of this definition. Please check that out in case you had missed it. But please, let's highlight a few things before we continue. So remember, in identifying, understanding, interpreting, creating, communicating, and computing, we must be able to use these in varying contexts for us to be considered as functionally literate. Remember, literacy is on a continuum of learning, so we don't automatically reach to the point in literacy that we ought to be at. Ideally, it would be good that by the time we're in the 9th grade, we're functionally literate for the world of work. However, that's not always the case, and it does not mean that if at 12 years old per se, you have not mastered certain milestones that a 3-year-old has mastered, it does not mean that you will never be able to attain your literacy goals. It just means you need to work a bit harder to get to the end of the continuum or closer to the end. So we never stop learning and we never stop becoming masters at literacy. We keep improving. There's always much more to learn, and that's how it is with literacy, because we must be using all of this to develop our knowledge and potential. We're never yet at our fullest potential. There's always more that we can do, and it is supposed to enable us, literacy is supposed to enable us to participate fully in our community and wider society. A person is functional literate if he or she can engage in all those activities in which literacy is required for effective functioning of his group and community, and also for enabling him or her to continue to use reading, writing, and calculation for his own and the community's development. And it sounds like a mouthful, but basically it's just saying that if we're functionally literate, we will pull on all of the different skills and components of literacy to be effective community members, effective citizens, to develop our lives and the lives of others. So we should be able to especially use reading, writing, and calculation for our development as well as the society's development. And we made a note last week, literacy involves the use of basic knowledge. However, we can have basic knowledge but we're not using it. We can have basic knowledge, but if we're unable to apply the basic knowledge to our life, then we may not be functionally literate. If we're functionally literate, we have the knowledge and we utilize the knowledge, apply it to our lives to make ourselves better and to make our society better. So for this week, we're going to zoom in on the components of literacy. So we said a whole mouthful earlier, but what does literacy really involve? There are 5 strands or 5 components of literacy, and to be functionally literate, we have to develop all these skills and master them. 1. Reading. 2. Writing. 3. Listening. 4. Speaking. And 5. Thinking. So to be functionally literate, we must be able to master reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. Now, reading, writing, listening, and speaking are also 4 of the 6 language arts skills. This, therefore, tells us that the essence of literacy is how we understand language and use it. And the proof of how literate we are is how we communicate. And that is for both speaking and writing. Let me repeat. The essence of literacy is how we understand the language that we're using, and the proof of how literate we are is how we communicate in both speech and in writing. How we communicate tells how literate we are. How we communicate tells the world how literate we are. Reading is just one part of being literate because there are four other components: writing, listening, speaking, thinking, and all are just as important. Now, we're used to hearing that literacy is reading and writing. By now, you must notice that literacy involves far more than just reading and writing. However, since we love to emphasize reading a lot, let's zoom in on the pillars of reading. I know this might be an eye-opener for many persons. The pillars of reading. There are 5 pillars of reading. These are 5 aspects to the process of reading. So reading is not just picking up a book or picking up a piece of paper and you just start and end and that's it. No, it's a full process. And the process includes these 5 pillars. 1. Phonemic awareness. 2. Phonics. 3. Vocabulary. 4. Fluency. And 5. Reading comprehension. Phonemic awareness is all about having an understanding or basic knowledge of the speech sounds that are associated with a particular language. So you should be able to hear a sound and recognize if this is a part of your language or not. For example, does your language have an ah sound versus ah? Does it have an aw sound? What if you wanted to create the aw sound in the language? Are those 2 sounds coming together or is there just one sound? Phonics now is the association of the speech sound to the letters. The letters are what we refer to as the graphemes as well. So phonics is all about connecting the sound with the letter or looking at the letter and relating the sound that's connected with the letter. For example, you may say B, B, C, K. However, if you really think about all of your phonics skills and what you know about phonics, you will remember that there are some letters that have multiple speech sounds. For example, the letter C. We could be saying K in one context and S in another context. So phonics, developing your phonics skills will help you to understand under what circumstances do you say a particular speech sound even though there is a particular letter before you. Vocabulary. Vocabulary is just all about the expanse of the words that we use. There are some words that are more a part of our oral vocabulary, meaning we use them a lot more in speaking than we do in writing. That's quite fine, and we will never ever know all the words of any language. However, we must take steps to enhance our vocabulary by speaking more to other persons, listening to other persons, writing more, reading more, and thinking more. That way we can make word associations. Yes, thinking is involved in enhancing your vocabulary. Remember, we have to develop those 5 literacy skills. There are times we'll hear a word and it's not a word that we're familiar with, but we have to think, process it. What does the context dictate to us? What do you think the person is saying? And that's how you enhance your vocabulary, because your brain will store it and eventually you will know how to use it. Or if you don't use it in speech or in writing, the next time you hear the word, your brain will make connection to that memory. Fluency. This is number 4. Pillar number 4. Fluency is all about the pace at which we read. We must understand even the orientation of the words on the paper. Are we reading from left to right in our language, or are we reading from right to left? Do we understand what the punctuation marks mean? Am I pausing where I should pause? Am I stopping? Am I speaking in an excited tone because the punctuation mark suggests it? Do I understand what tone should be passed on? Do I know at what rate I should be speaking? Do I know when to raise my voice and when to drop it? All of that is a part of fluency. And the more we practice reading, is the better we become at fluency. We must also master reading comprehension. Now, we love to say we're reading, but sometimes we're not really comprehending. Reading comprehension is a making an association with the words that are on paper, with our prior knowledge, and with the context within the text. So we're making meaning of the words, we're understanding, and we're trying to make sense of what the writer is saying. So if I see the word blue on the page, am I associating it with a color? Or is the writer talking about his or her mood? If I see the word BALL, am I thinking about a party? Or am I thinking about a round object? All of that is a part of reading comprehension. And all 5 pillars work together to create the reading experience. So the reading experience has to include phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and reading comprehension. As children learn to read, they must develop skills in all 5 areas. I hope this lesson helped. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thank you.